All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another session of Authors Conversations. I am Kanika Mobley along with Vanessa Mitchell, and we are the co-founders of Stories of a Colorful World. And we just like to take the time for people who are new to joining us, to tell you just a little bit about Stories of a Colorful World. So we are an online bookstore, and we really focus on carrying books featuring Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and Asian authors, and books featuring characters that represent those same diverse groups. And so if you are coming back, we welcome you back. And if you're new to us, then hi, happy Thursday. Thank you for joining. So we are here today with author Deborah Mortimer, and we are so excited to speak to her today. How are you doing today, Deborah?
Great. I'm really happy to be here.
Welcome. Nice. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So if we could just start off, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm Deborah C Mortimer. I am an attorney by trade with a long love of writing. I have now made the transition, pivoted from law into writing and publishing children's books. I'm looking for a long time for something to pivot into, something that would kind of marry my love of education and children and writing. And this checks all the boxes. And this is now my new love and passion. So yes, that's something about me.
So were you a writer as a child?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, okay. I definitely love to write. I was a bundle of energy, I still kind of am, bundle of energy, a bundle of creativity, and my imagination was crazy. And so my mom was always an avid reader and writer. She very much promoted writing. And so she got me into writing poems and stories as an outlet for that imagination and that creativity. So yeah, I thank her for that, definitely.
So do you have some stories that you might have written as a kid? Do you still keep some of those?
I do. I keep a lot of, like I have like, I think when I was in first grade, there was like a publication in the class of stories, and mine was like how the tiger got its spots or something like that. And I still have it. I still have all of them. I keep everything. I still have everything. Yeah. And Zora, well, you haven't gotten to that, but Zora is me. That's what I tap into. I tap into 6-year-old me and my imagination and everything, and some of the things that I used to think about and write about. And that's what I'll be tapping into as far as I go on further with Zora.
So let's jump into Zora and the very big question. So what was your motivation for writing that book?
Well, like I said, oh no, I didn't say it actually before this, I said it. It kind of came to me in a dream. I always wanted to write. I always thought I was going to maybe write like the next big novel. But I didn't start out with children's books. My sister is writing a children's book actually. And she's a real estate developer. She's also running for Brooklyn Borough President. Shout out to her. Yeah, and so she was writing a children's book about real estate, and she needed some help. And being an attorney, she knows that I'm like a researcher extraordinaire. So I was researching how to go about the whole self-publishing process. And in the midst of it, I was like, wait a second, like this really is like awesome, writing for children and education, and I could do this. And I was like, well, what am I going to write about? And the idea kind of just came to me, and I wrote it down really quickly. And then I was looking for a name for the character and came up with Zora because it's like a play off of my name. And then it's also like Zora Neale Hurston is one of my favorite authors. So it kind of like was a good play on the words. And then that's it. That's how she came to be.
So can you tell us a little bit about the story for those that haven't
know
the book,
okay.
What the premise, the plot?
Okay, so you have Zora. She lives in Brooklyn. She's 6 years old. She's in first grade. And she's in class, and her teacher, Mrs. Robertson, asked the class, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it seems like everybody in the class knows, but she doesn't. And she's a little upset by that. And then she kind of thinks about it and realizes that the bigger question is not really what does she want to be when she grows up, but what can she be? And so it starts on a Friday, and then she kind of like explores, the reader goes along with her as she explores her world with her parents and her relatives. And she explores the question of what can she be, looking at the things that she likes to do and the experiences that she has, and determines that at the end that she can become anything that she wants without really answering the question. She decides that she could become anything that she wants. That's basically it.
Something that really struck me was even the way that you kind of like modernized it, because you see our vice president show up in the book. And tell us a little bit about like what were some of those like images that you wanted to make sure that you included in this book.
Well, I was very intentional that the examples of these careers were Black women. I wanted them to be Black women because I wanted her to have, Zora is a little Black girl, and I wanted her to have that representation. That's really important. So when answering the question of what can I be, she evidently sees these women doing these great big jobs, and that definitely makes it a possibility for her to do that job because she can see herself in it. So I was intentional about that. Our vice president definitely was a motivation in the book because, as you could tell, it starts on a Friday, and she made her speech, where she was wearing all white. I remember she was wearing all white. She made it like on a Saturday or a Sunday. I don't remember which day, but I remember when I was watching it, and when she was saying that I want little girls who look like me to know that if they work hard, they can do anything. And then the cameras like kind of reflected on girls in the audience that were watching it. And that made me think of that now these girls are seeing this and knowing definitely that this is something that I can do. I could be vice president, I could be president. There is nothing I can't do. So I wanted that image. The last page, well, the second to last page, where she's in the mirror, where Zora's in the mirror and she's seeing herself at the podium as president and saying to herself, she's right, I can become anything. That was something I really wanted out there, because then that kind of like culminates everything that she's seen, she's thought about, and she's heard throughout the book. It solidifies the fact that she can become anything. She can see herself as anything because she had those examples to base it off of.
Yeah. So I love the story, and I think that, certainly showing what you can be, not just what you want to be, right? The world is open to you when you think about what you can be.
Yeah, definitely.
Other images of people who look like you, women who look like you in those roles. So what has the reaction been to the book?
I've been surprised. It's been really good. Really surprised. I've had a lot of people say a lot of really great things, and most importantly, teachers. I've had teachers say really great things and say that there's a lot of lessons in there that they can jump start conversations and dialogues with children about thinking about what they can be, because it's not just picking an arbitrary job. It's like Zora's mom says, think about the things that you like to do and the things that you're good at. So you're jump-starting conversations with children about what are the things that you like to do? What are your interests? Maybe these are possibilities. Zora, at one point, she has to intermediate between her friends who are having a disagreement about, one of her best friend taking an extra turn, not getting cheated out of her turn. And she had to advocate for her friend. And her mom said, well, you were kind of like acting like her lawyer.
Right.
And she decides, well, that felt good, advocating for my friend. Maybe I can be a lawyer. So it's looking inward at the things that you like to do, the things that interest you, and looking at it as maybe a possibility of maybe I can do that because, I have an interest in that.
Absolutely. I love that it gives voice to that, right? Because we don't always think of the things that we're doing, or kids don't think about like the things that they do well, or understand like what are those characteristics that,
Right.
are your strengths, and how can you then think about a career that works towards those?
Right.
Which is
Yeah.
awesome. So what do you really want to make sure that, so in thinking about like families and teachers, like what do you want kids to take away from your book?
Number one, I want them to ask questions, ask the big questions. This is a big world. And, I want them to look at their world and question it, question how they fit in the world and the things around them, to know that even when you ask these big questions, you're not always going to find the answer right away. Zora does not have the answer by the end of the book. She's 6. Should she? Should she have the answer? Probably not. But it's great that you're thinking about it, but you don't have to have the answer by the end of the book. So I want kids to ask the big questions and know that it's okay not to have the answer, but know that your parents and your teachers are there and are vital resources to talk to about these things, to question and look to them for guidance and help to answer these big questions. And I want them to know that they can become anything. There is no limit at all. You can become anything, and just strive for that. Just strive to become anything that you want to be without any limit, because the representation is out there. It's out there for them as an example of what they can become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that is important to us just with Stories of a Colorful World is highlighting children's books that shows us in all different types of light, right?
Yes.
And tells all different types of stories, normalizes us and our stories and images of ourselves, our families,
Yes.
and so forth. And so that reminder that there are limitless possibilities of what we can do and what we can be. We're already out there, but we don't get to see those images every day. And I think that's why this book is so important to bring, to highlight, especially on our platform.
Thank you. Yes. Like, as we were talking about previously to this, to the live, the normalization of a 2-parent household where, where the father is there, he's present, he's active. She makes the paper butterflies with her father, and it says how he helps her with her homework. And also something I didn't pick up on that someone pointed out to me is that this book is a really great example of non-traditional gender roles, because the mother is a lawyer, and what does the father do? He's a chef. Right? So and that's different. You would normally see maybe something switched, but it normalizes that father doesn't necessarily have to be the one who has the big job. It could be the mother that has it, that has the big job. So yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I love that. What was your process like in actually like creating this book?
Well, this being my first book, definitely a learning curve. But I learned a lot. Well, I wrote it, and then I sought out a children's book editor, someone who was very experienced in just children's book. So shout out to Brooke Vitale. She's an awesome children's book editor, 20 years in the business. So I got it edited, and then I looked for an illustrator. That took a little bit of time because I had to vet, and I wanted to make sure there was someone that was good and reputable, and someone that was going to really do justice to the book and have Zora look the way I saw her in my mind. So Stephanie Heider, wonderful illustrator. And then I had it edited again and proofread, and I had a book designer who was great, who designed the typesetting and everything, and then put it out there. That was it. Yeah. That was the whole process.
What was the publishing aspect like? We know there are some that decide to go the self-publishing route, some that decide to go with the sort of bigger name publishers.
Well, I wanted control. I think that I love the whole self-publishing, YouTube. I love the fact that we now live in a world where, excuse me, you can create your own destiny. Basically, you're not sitting there and waiting for some big name publisher to pick up your book. Like, please choose me, and then have to go through the rejections. You can actually go and have a great idea, put your book out there. And I've heard so many great stories of people who've self-published and it's gotten picked up by a major publishing house, or it's gotten picked up by like Netflix or something like that. So you're not looking for a seat at the table, you're creating your own table and hoping that maybe they want to come and ask you for a seat at your table. So I love that. I love the autonomy of self-publishing. And I didn't want to publish just as an author. I wanted to create a platform. So I wanted to publish under my own publishing house, Leap Forward Publishing. And I say that we are dedicated to developing and promoting books with a focus on diversity and inclusion. So to hopefully one day start publishing other people's works. But for now, it's just going to be mine, just for now, until I really get a solid footing in the business, and then I can help others.
So as you think about like that focus on diversity and inclusion, what would you say like diverse representation in children's books means to you?
It means a representation of everyone, of every race, gender, ethnicity, and even sexual orientation. Just everyone's voices being heard and represented, because that's the world. I always say my quote that I always put on everything is that representation is important not just for children to see themselves, but it's so that they can see, appreciate, and learn about people who don't look like them. That's because, I've heard people say that, if it's a story where the main protagonist is like a Black girl, it's not just for Black girls. Right. It's not just for Black girls. Right. Someone who is of a different race and different gender can read this book and learn more about this Black girl and maybe appreciate the Black girl experience a little bit more if you read about it. So it's not, diverse books isn't just for that section of the population that the book is written and it's for everyone. So that's what I think diversity in books is so important. It's for everyone, because when children see and learn at an early age about diversity, they appreciate the diversity of the world if they are exposed to it on a regular basis.
Yeah. You know what I just found interesting, when we talk about diverse books and these are books for everyone. Like just because the main character is a Black girl doesn't mean it's just for Black girls. But we've had to get used to that, right? I just remember books that had all different types of, lead characters. Most of them did not look like me,
right?
But that was normal, right? And so it just kind of brings home the message of we have to normalize that we show up in the world just like everybody else.
Exactly. Do you remember the first book you saw that had characters that looked like you? I do.
I don't. It doesn't. Now that you ask me, I have to think about which one I read that.
I have two that I remember very vividly.
I think Snowy Day reminds.
Well, that's the first one. Wasn't it? That's like the first one for everyone, isn't it?
Yes.
Snowy Day by Ezra Keats. That's the first one for everyone. But another one that you might not think about, and I'm not going to age myself. I'm not going to nobody how old I am. I was young. That's it. That's all you know. Mufara's Beautiful Daughter.
Yes. Yes.
That was the first book I ever encountered where it was Black girls. Not only Black girls, but girls in Africa. And Africa didn't look like, okay. I'm not gonna go into it, but it was regal and it was beautiful, right. And the characters were beautiful, and it was a beautiful story about kindness and humility. That was the first book, and I had that book. I read that book every day. I read it to my sisters, my siblings, and then when I had my son, I bought a whole new copy because and I read that to my son all the time. That's the first book that I saw with girls that looked like me that I loved.
Right. And it's probably because they were everyday stories, and it was like designated as a character versus like painted on face.
Right. Which
happens so often.
Right. So you got to think about that, Vanessa. You got to think about what your
I do. I'm going to be racking my brain.
Okay.
What do you want? Like, do you have any advice for aspiring writers?
Right. That first and foremost, right. You can't edit a blank page. Right. I have a blog on my website where I give a lot of writing tips. And one of them is to just create like a writing schedule, have a designated space where you write and have a writing schedule. I get up at 6 o'clock every morning. I don't know why. I'm just up. I don't know why. And so I always find my way into my office and I write. And I don't care about spelling or grammar or anything when I write. I just write. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not so good, but I do it anyway so that it can just, the ideas flow. And then sometimes later on I go back and I look at it and I'm like, I could do something with that, but write, get it out there. And then you can deal with the editing and all that logistics later, but create a habit and do it. And don't be afraid to do it, because a lot of people, I know I was afraid. My husband pushed me. I probably, if it wasn't for him, I probably would have written Zora and put it in a drawer and just let it go. And he was just like, what are you doing? Just, if they don't buy it, then they don't buy it. And if they do, they do. But at least you put it out there into the world and you put this message out there into the world and, and see where it goes. So yeah, that would be my advice. Just do it. Leap forward.
Like that.
I love it.
So what were some of your biggest challenges in this journey from into being a children's book writer, right? And then how did you overcome them?
Oh wow. I think just learning the whole process. I overthink things a bit. And I research ad nauseum, and then I still overthink them. So I had a lot of guidance, I must say. My editor was a really great help, Brooke Vitale, in guiding me. I met a lot of really great authors. I believe in writing communities. That's another thing I would tell an aspiring author. Join writing communities. There's so many great ones on Facebook. My website, I have a whole list of them on Facebook, on Instagram, even just websites, communities. And I've connected with so many great, especially Black female authors that share their knowledge. They're more than willing to share their knowledge. They inspire, they encourage, they motivate. So whenever I've had a doubt about something, they've been there to say, no, do it this way. And you can do, and it have been right there to encourage me. So that helps. Being an attorney also helps, because that also helps, because I'm pretty good at vetting and whatnot, and contracts and writing contracts. Right. So like the little loopholes that maybe another aspiring author would have gotten trapped in, I was able to overcome those quickly because I'm an attorney. So that helped. But I think the hardest part was finding an illustrator, finding someone that could see what I saw, because my mom says that Zora looks just like, I gave my illustrator a picture of myself at 6, and I was like, can you make her look like this? And she got it down to the gap. I had a huge gap when I was 6. So she nailed it for me. She definitely nailed it for me. That was the hardest part, just trying to figure that out and figure out the whole process and how to market. Marketing is probably the hardest part, is getting the word out. Definitely. Yeah.
We definitely hear the struggle of, trying to find a great illustrator often.
It's hard because, like I hear people go to Fiverr. I didn't go to Fiverr, but there's horror stories from getting an illustrator from Fiverr, but there are really good. I know an author who found someone on Fiverr who is like fresh. She is fun. I'm like, phenomenal. And I'm like, you lucked out. She's like, I know, I'm holding on to her like grim death. Phenomenal. And you can, but there are horror stories. There are also horror stories. And I'm trying to avoid the horror story. I'm trying to avoid the horror.
Well, it looks phenomenal. What was the reaction from, I know your son and your nieces and nephews are part of your inspiration. Like, what was their reaction when you brought this, birthed this baby into the world.
They love it. They love it. They love opening it and seeing their names. But they enjoyed it. They were very encouraging. It was like, oh, because they called me Nisi. That's they don't call me aunt. They call me Nisi. And they're like, oh, Nisi, I see my name in the book and I love it. And it's been great. It's been great.
I think what's great too is it gives them a image of an author, right, in the family, and all the things they can be. And
it's really them that I wrote it for. Honestly, it's really my nieces that I wrote, because I stress education with them and reading, and I'm always telling them that they can do anything if you work hard, because that's another thing that's stressed in the book. If you work hard, not just you could become anything,
right?
You got to work hard too. So
right.
I stress that to them, and I thought that this would be a great example, a great legacy to leave them, that they can pass on or whatever, to say, look, Nisi said we can become anything. So that was that.
I love that. I absolutely love that message. It brings it home too, because it makes it so real and authentic.
Yes.
And it feels that way when you read the book.
Right. Yeah, and I put and some of the names in the book was like a tribute to some of my friends. Like I have a friend whose daughter's name is Layla, and so she's excited when she reads the book because assigned to the aunt is Aunt Layla, and I have a friend who's Jasmine, and Dawn is actually my childhood best friend, and she's in it. And so she said her daughter got a kick out of seeing her name in it. Yeah.
My mom is famous now.
Right.
You talked a little bit about what's coming next for Zora. So can we ask, what are you working on?
I have like 3 books I've written so far that I'm just gonna just dole out, but they're not all Zora books. The next one is Zora, the Brave Ballerina. And Zora, though Zora in this book, she's in her familiar environment. She's with her teacher, she's with her parents. So she's comfortable, and she when she's comfortable, she talks a lot. She's loud, she's very assertive. But what people don't know is that when she's in a new environment and around people she doesn't know, she is painfully shy. She hides behind her mother, she sweats and she gets nervous. And this book is about fearlessness and being brave. And it's about coming out of your shell and trying something new, and knowing that when you show bravery, you can learn something new and meet new people and have these great experiences, but you got to be brave. So that's what the next book is about. I'm going to start working on that at the end of the year.
Oh, I love that.
Keep an eye out for Zora, the Brave Ballerina.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And then I got some other things coming out next year, but that's something different.
Okay. Well, we got to make sure we have you back, because we need to know what's happening.
Oh yeah. I'd love to come back. Definitely. You guys are great.
Absolutely. So are there any like story time rituals that you have with your son, or that you've implemented throughout the years or had as a child?
Okay, I'm not going to tell you how old my son is, because again, I'm not aging. So, but let's just say,
or that you had.
Let's just say we don't do story time. Let's just say we don't do story time anymore. I was got it from my mother. My mother read every night to me, every day, 2-3 times a day. And what was important, she did the voices. She did the voices. So I picked that right up. I read to my son. I was a voracious reader with him. Every night we would read at least 2 or 3 books, and I would do all the voices. He loved when I did the voice. He loved when I did the voices. And I homeschooled him through middle school. So I constantly would have him read, and we would sometimes read books together, read classics together. And so he had a big love for reading and for writing. That was our routine. Yeah.
That's so sweet. Yeah. So does he have aspirations of being a writer, or does that?
My son actually he's a very, very creative. He's written scripts, And again, you're gonna make me age myself. What is wrong with you, Vanessa?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know what? I'm proud of my son. I'll say my son is actually in college.
Nice.
Yeah, my son is actually in college. He's an aspiring attorney
Okay.
and an aspiring filmmaker. And he'll be going to law school soon. And he's written a number of short stories and scripts, and he's a very good writer. I would say probably better. He's better than I am. Yeah, definitely. Very, very good.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. And I guess I asked the question too, because I wonder if, reading and writing at such a young age and doing it on a regular basis, how that opens the world up for you
It
as
does.
you become an adult. So
it does, because when we were homeschooling, I would have him read upwards of 20 to 25 books a year. And because he read so much and I had him read so many different types of books, his vocabulary was insane. So I think that when you do read a lot, it also it sparks the imagination, because reading is not like watching television where you have that immediate gratification of seeing the images. When you read, it's time. It's a marathon. It's not a race, and you have to actually sit there and imagine everything that you're seeing, and it helps with the imagination. In my experience, I have found that the children who don't like to read, I have a niece who doesn't like to read. She can't see the pictures in her head. I'll read something to her and I'll like, okay, now tell me what you saw. And she's like, I saw black letters on a white page. That's what I saw. And I'm like, you didn't see that? You didn't see all that imagery? You didn't see that? And she's like, no. And so I think that reading to children very young, it develops that ability to see the pictures and to spark their imagination. And when you do that from an early age, I think you create a lifelong reader. You create children who want to read. And when you have that imagination that you can see what you're reading, then that fosters the imagination to write and create your own images. So yeah.
Absolutely. Because I know there's some kids who either don't see it or they've gotten into the habit of, I'm reading to get through the words versus like to really understand and hold on to the story and enjoy it.
Yeah. And it's difficult. Like it's difficult. I don't see a lot of kids who get lost in reading anymore. Like, I can sit and read a book and just get lost in this book, and hours have gone by and I didn't even realize it because I'm so lost in this book. And you don't see a lot of kids who do that anymore. Yeah. I like, even with my an ebook, I was hesitant. I didn't want the ebook to necessarily come out right away, because I think there is something about holding a physical book in your hand and reading it, and not on this screen. I don't like this. I don't like the screen. I mean, it's great for us as adults, but I don't like children. I think they need to hold a book and read. I'm old school. I'm
with you. I'm with you. We've asked this question before, and it's interesting to hear the responses, but I'm the same way. Like there's something about flipping the pages. And when you talked about reading and using your imagination, it's so funny and I'm thinking about a book that I would have read, and then you watch the movie afterwards or something like that. And then you look at it, it's like, that's not what I created in my head. Like what I created in my head was so much better than, what I see on the screen.
I'm pretty good though, because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. And she did a really good job of being very descriptive, that when I watched those movies, I was like, that's it. That's what I saw. But her writing is that descriptive that you can't, it doesn't take a lot for you to create those images in your head. So yeah, that to me is great writing. But also when I feel maybe a little bit of writer's block, that's when I start picking up things and reading again, because sometimes other people's creativity can spark your own. And especially when you read about a new writing style or a new way of putting it, like, oh, I didn't even think I can write like that, and it'll spark something new. So yeah.
Cool. So we have, maybe I'll switch gears. So every month we pick a new theme.
Okay.
And the theme for June is kindness.
Okay.
And so we try to ask all of the authors that we interview, what is one word or phrase or quote to you what does kindness mean to you in terms of a word or a phrase or a quote?
You did send me that question, and I was just, I still couldn't really come up with the whole thing. Kindness is, can't come up with a word. It's looking beyond yourself.
Mhm.
Kindness is empathy. It is unconditional love. It's acceptance. It's knowing that the world is not just you. It's seeing the needs, seeing the things that someone else needs, and asking yourself, what can I do to fulfill that need for that person? That doesn't cost you anything, but but may mean the world to that person. That's what kindness is to me. I'm all about being kind.
Well, you said you didn't know, but that was perfect.
Was it really?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where can people keep in touch with you and definitely find Zora and the Very Big Question, and also what you have next coming up?
Okay. Well, if you want to get a signed autographed copy, hardcover copy of Zora and the Very Big Question, you can go to leapforwardbooks.com. But it's available in paperback and hardcover and Kindle on Amazon. It's also, and I'm so excited to find out that it's available in Barnes and Nobles, in Target, and Walmart, and a bunch of other little stores. I was so excited to find that out. So you can definitely get it at any of those places. But like I said, if you want a signed autograph copy, Leap Forward Books is the only place that you can get it, and you get like book swag along with it. So that's great. For me, like I said, Zora and the Brave Ballerina, that's coming out at the end of the year. I'm really excited about next year because I'll be working with a pretty well-known artist in Canada on another book that I have yet the title of it next year. It's a book about my family's from the Caribbean. My mom is Jamaican. My dad is Venezuelan Trinidadian. And it's a book about the summers that I spent in the Caribbean visiting my grandmother. And it's not a Zora book. The character doesn't even have a name. But this artist, I'm very excited that he's going to be doing the illustrations for it, and that's going to be out next year.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, the end of next year. Yeah. Yeah. And then, like I said, I'm still working on learning more and more about the publishing business so that I can help aspiring authors who are trying to get the word out there, trying to tell the stories that are trapped inside, so that I can help them get those books out there, so I can do my part to add to the diversity and inclusion of children's books. That's it.
And if there's anything that we can do to help support that, we are absolutely
Oh,
here.
that's awesome. Yes, definitely.
That is what we try to do with Stories of a Colorful World. And we do more, we're doing more and more events. And so we want to make sure too that we'll get in contact with you so we can have some of the books on hand to
definitely. That sounds awesome. I love what you guys are doing. Yeah, definitely. We have to get the word out there. So so it's not a novelty anymore that
right.
that it's the norm that diversity in children's books, definitely.
Absolutely. And take some of the stigma away, because some people think self-published doesn't equate to like quality, and it actually does. Like, there's so many quality books from self-published authors.
Yes. And that's another thing that I want to do with Leap Forward is I want to not only help authors to get the word out, but to show them how to do it, in a quality way. So yeah, because I was taught by some of the people I've leaned on to get information on how to navigate this whole business. So yeah.
I love it.
Well, we'll make sure too that in the comments we'll put where folks can find your books. We'll make sure we promote it on our site as well. And
ignore that if you hear the dog. Ignore it.
I have one upstairs, so that's perfectly fine. But Deborah, it's been such a pleasure having you
Definitely.
join us and chatting with you and hearing about Zora and the very big question. And we're looking forward to the next book to come out as well.
Yes.
So one more time, where can people find the books?
Well, like I said, if you want to get a signed autographed copy, you can go to leapforwardbooks.com. If not, you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart, and pick up the book there in hardcover, paperback, and on Kindle, on Amazon. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free.
And are you on social media?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I am on Instagram at Leap Forward Books. Facebook, the Leap Forward publishing page is at Leap Forward Books, but you can also find me at Deborah Mortimer. On Twitter, Leap Forward Books. YouTube, Leap Forward Books. TikTok, Leap Forward Books. Leap Forward Books. Though there's nothing there, you can, but you know, I haven't figured out what I could possibly put on TikTok yet, so we'll figure it out at some point. Yeah,
absolutely, and we'll make sure that we add that to the comment section below so people can definitely follow you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
So thank you again for spending your Thursday evening with us.
I loved it. Thank you.
This is a lot of fun.
Yes.
And for all of those that have joined our Facebook Live tonight, thank you again for joining us. Please make sure to follow us as well on Instagram and Facebook, and also check out our website at www.storiesofacolorfulworld.com. Join the newsletter. The newsletter will tell you our themes of the month. It'll highlight some of our picks of the month, any activities we have going on or any events. And so we actually do want to highlight an event we have going on this weekend. So for the first time, Kanika and I are finally together for an event. So we'll be in Atlanta. So if you're in the Atlanta area this weekend, starting tomorrow through Sunday, we'll be at the Juneteenth Parade and Festival at Centennial Olympic Park in downtown Atlanta. So please come out. It starts tomorrow, I think at 2 p.m. And goes all the way through Sunday evening. So stop by, join us, say hi, you know, enjoy the festivities and the celebration. It looks to be a beautiful event. So we're excited to be one of the vendors there.
Can I promote a Juneteenth vending that I'm doing?
Absolutely.
If you're going to be in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, in the Lehigh Valley of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, I'll be at the Lehigh Valley Juneteenth celebration at the Steel Stacks Art Quest Center, selling books. That's what I'll be doing.
Awesome. We're going to put that in the link too. So we're going to put that in the comments as well. The event.
Great.
So yes, there's lots of Juneteenth events out there. If you're not in Atlanta, if you're not in Pennsylvania, you know, make sure to find an event, participate in the festivities that are happening all over.
Becoming a national holiday.
Yes. It is. It's absolutely. We're being recognized. So that's a beautiful thing. So again, please come out, join us. Again, you can check out our website, www.storiesofacolorfulworld.com, and all the details will be available there as well. Definitely sign up for the newsletters, the best way to see what we'll have going on. And if you missed if you missed this conversation or any of the previous conversations, links to those are also available on the website. So Deborah, Kanika, you guys are great. This has been a fun conversation. So thank you all, and thank you guys for all joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.